Welcome back to the Wall Street Podcast. Today, we're doing a deep dive into key reports and analyses from the Wall Street Journal. These were published Tuesday, September 9, 2025. Our mission, as always, is to pull out the crucial insights on economic trends, corporate strategies, policy impacts, all presented concisely for you.
Exactly. This deep dive looks at, well, several facets of the U.S. economy. We're covering some significant corporate deals, shifts in the labor market dynamics, the influence of regulatory policy, which is always fascinating, and the challenges technology keep throwing at us. We're really examining how all these pieces converge to shape the market and, frankly, our daily lives.
Okay, let's break that down. Starting with corporate deals and market activity, SpaceX made waves, didn't it?
Yeah.
$17 billion deal for EchoStar's spectrum rights for cell phone service.
That's right. And remember, spectrum rights are basically the airwaves needed for wireless communication. This comes just after EchoStar sold $23 billion worth of spectrum to AT&T last month. So a lot of movement there.
And it wasn't just telecom. PNC is buying First Bank.
Yes, a $4.1 billion cash and stock deal for the Colorado Bank, clearly pushing PNC's national ambitions. And speaking of market moves, StubHub laid out its IPO plans.
Aiming for over $9 billion market cap, selling shares between $22 and $25.
Correct. Big numbers. But there's also a structural angle here. The long-term stock exchange, the LTSE, wants to petition the SEC to end mandatory quarterly earnings reports.
Suggesting semi-annual instead, to encourage long-term thinking.
Precisely. It's a direct challenge to that short-term focus we often see, Could really change how companies plan and invest.
Okay, let's shift to economic indicators in the labor market. We're seeing some warning signs.
Well, look at lumber futures. They've dropped 24% since early August, down to $526.50 per thousand board feet.
That usually signals trouble for housing, right? Less demand for building materials?
It's a strong indicator, yes. But interestingly, mortgage rates have actually fallen quite sharply.
The 30-year fixed is at 6.28%, lowest since last October.
Yeah, and that followed weaker than expected jobs data. The connection is fewer jobs means potentially less inflation pressure, maybe lower rates. The overall labor market is definitely slowing down. August saw just 22,000 net new jobs.
Wow, that's way below the 75,000 expected.
Way below. Though health services is still a relative bright spot, it counts for about 1 in 6 private sector jobs, around 23.5 million. And the average wage there is $36 an hour. So it's still some strength, but the overall trend is slowing.
Okay, let's pivot to our commentary segments. First up, AI. How is artificial intelligence reshaping workforces and challenging established tech sectors?
Well, it's hitting in some unexpected places. Think about professional impersonators, for example. They're now competing with AI-generated deepfakes, which can be incredibly realistic. And it's not just niche professions. Big enterprise software companies like Salesforce, they're feeling what the journal called existential worry.
Because AI can generate code now, potentially reducing the need for their software.
Exactly. It could cut into their core business. Salesforce's stock slump this year, down 25%, might reflect some of that anxiety. It shows AI isn't just helping us do work. It's questioning if some work or some software is even needed anymore.
Right. Now, Module 2, U.S. labor and immigration policy. What are the pressures and how are some policies, well, seemingly at odds with each other?
We just mentioned the slowing labor market. Health services is a bright spot, but even that faces headwinds. There are impending Medicaid cuts, $911 billion over 10 years, that could slow hiring there. At the same time, you have immigration restrictions.
Clashing with the need for workers, especially new factories.
Precisely. The journal reported on a raid in Georgia affecting foreign specialists needed for a battery plant. And we can face a shortage of maybe 67,000 technical jobs just in semiconductors by 2030 because of these dynamics. So, yeah, there's a bit of a policy contradiction, restricting workers while industry desperately needs them.
Okay, third module, policy, regulation, and corporate strategy. How are big companies navigating regulatory shifts and political interventions?
Telecom is a prime example of direct political influence. You had the Trump administration getting involved with EchoStar's spectrum assets. That ultimately paved the way for the SpaceX deal we mentioned, and AT&T's deal too, after FCC pressure. It's quite direct. Then you look at automakers, like Ford and GM. They're sort of caught in the middle, aren't they?
Between climate goals and changing regulations.
Right. They have public commitments to carbon neutrality. But then the EPA rolls back some climate regulations, or at least issues guidance suggesting greenhouse gases might not be as bad as previously thought. It creates a real strategic puzzle for them.
So pulling all this together, these big picture trends, what are the tangible impacts on everyday people and families.
Well, high housing costs and those mortgage rates, even though they dipped recently, are having direct effects. We're seeing divorced couples engage in nesting, where the kids stay in the house and the parents rotate in and out.
To keep a low mortgage rate and maintain stability for the children.
Exactly. It's a very practical response to economic pressure. And on another front, there's concerning news about education. Math and reading scores for U.S. high school seniors have hit record lows.
That has long-term implications for the workforce, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It feeds right back into the labor market challenges, future competitiveness.
Yeah.
It's a serious national issue highlighted in the data. So when you step back, you really see how these complex layers, policy, markets, technology, they all interconnect. They're actively shaping not just the economy, but the very fabric of daily life for everyone.
A lot to think about there. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.